Welcome to the deep dive. This one is really for you. Remember that request you sent in through our daily bread?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you wanted to explore why a loving God would allow suffering. And we're using paste and text to kind of guide us through the book of Job.
It's a question that's just echoed through, like, centuries. And Job's story offers a pretty unique perspective, I think.
Yeah. We're going to tackle this by looking at a few things. First, like the heavenly perspective.
Yeah.
Then the human perspective, like Job and his friends. And finally, we'll look at God's response. What do you think? Good roadmap.
Definitely. Yeah, starting with the heavenly perspective kind of sets the stage in a way most people just wouldn't expect.
Yeah, it's like we're eavesdropping on like a divine conversation.
Right.
God and Satan are just chatting. And it's not like friendly chit-chat.
No.
Satan basically implies Job is only righteous because, he has it easy.
Yeah. It's a pretty bold claim.
Pretty bold.
Yeah.
And then God allows Satan to test Job's faith. But here's the thing, and this is crucial. It's a test, not a punishment.
Right.
And that is a distinction that a lot of people miss. And it's like so fundamental to understanding the whole story.
Absolutely.
So it's not like God is like, I'm going to make you suffer. It's more about like revealing, like, what is the genuine nature of Job's faith?
Right.
And to be fair, it gets absolutely hammered. I mean, Job loses his wealth, his health, his children.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about a bad day.
Yeah. Unimaginable level of suffering.
Yeah. And that's where the human element comes in. Job's friends, as well-meaning as they are,
Right.
they make things worse by trying to explain it all away. They're offering reasons, implying Job must have done something wrong to deserve this.
Yeah. It's that classic trying to find blame.
It's like they just can't accept that sometimes bad things just happen to good people. Doesn't this remind you of how we try to make sense of suffering, even if our explanations just aren't helpful?
Oh, all the time. Yeah. You're right. It's a very human impulse to find reasons, to place blame.
Yeah.
It gives us a sense of control in the face of just chaos, But sometimes, like, the most compassionate response is just to be there with someone's pain.
Right.
Without trying to, like, fix it or explain it away.
Exactly. And Job does not hold back in expressing his pain.
No, he does not.
He cries out to God, "Why did I not perish at birth?"
It's a powerful image.
That line is so raw. It's so honest. And I feel like anyone who's ever gone through a tough time can just relate to that feeling.
Absolutely. Job questions, he yells, he argues, but even in his anguish, he never completely loses faith.
Right.
And that's what's so powerful.
It's not a story about blind obedience. It's about that struggle, that questioning that can actually be a part of faith.
Yeah.
Especially when things are hard.
That's a crucial point. Job's story acknowledges the complexity of human experience, the way that doubt and faith can coexist, especially when we're facing suffering. It allows for wrestling with those big questions.
And then, of course, we have God's response, which was probably not what most people would expect.
Right. It's not a direct answer to Job's questions. Instead, God challenges him to consider the bigger picture. He uses imagery of creation, reminding Job and us of just God's immense power and wisdom.
Yeah, it's almost like God is saying, Job, you're focused on this one chapter, but I'm writing a whole epic.
Right.
Trust the process.
That shift in perspective is key. It doesn't dismiss Job's pain, but it invites us to think about a framework beyond just our limited human understanding.
Right.
How do you deal with unanswered questions in your own life?
Right.
Does this give you any new ways of approaching them?
It's definitely a thought-provoking approach.
Yeah.
But there's still so much more to unpack in Job's story, especially that idea of restoration.
Picking up on that idea of restoration, it's important to remember that the book of Job, it's not just a straightforward narrative. It's poetry, it's theology, and it's just full of symbolism and all these layered meanings.
Not exactly, beach reading. But I feel like that complexity is what makes it so intriguing.
Exactly. One of the most fascinating layers is how it grapples with this concept of free will.
Ah, free will.
Yeah.
The age-old question. If God knows everything, do we really have a choice? I mean, where does that fit into Job's story?
Well, while it's not like explicitly stated, the idea of free will kind of runs beneath the surface. Remember, Satan claims Job is only righteous because he's blessed.
Right.
The implication there is that suffering might cause him to turn away from God.
So the test isn't just about Job's faith in God, but his ability to choose righteousness even when life has just fallen apart.
Precisely that choice is what makes Job's faith so remarkable. He could have easily cursed God and given up, but he didn't. He held on to his integrity even in the face of just the unknown.
It's a testament to how strong, the human will can be, even against unimaginable suffering.
Yeah.
But it also makes you wonder about the nature of evil.
Right.
If God is all-powerful and loving, why is there evil in the first place?
Yeah.
And what's Satan's role in all this?
Those are questions that have puzzled theologians for centuries.
Yeah.
One way to look at it is that Satan isn't like an equal and opposite force to God,
Right.
but a being that's operating within God's permissive will.
Permissive will. So you mean God allows him to act, but within certain limits?
Exactly. And those limits are crucial. God sets boundaries for Satan's testing of Job. For instance, he doesn't allow Satan to take Job's life.
So even in the midst of suffering, there's a sense that God is still in control,
Right.
setting boundaries, ultimately working towards something good.
That's a key takeaway. It circles back to the theme of trust.
Yeah.
The book of Job challenges us to trust in God's wisdom and goodness even when we don't understand the plan.
Right.
It's about having faith that even in the darkest times, God is present working towards a purpose we might not fully grasp.
It's a powerful message. But I can see how it could be difficult to accept, especially when you're going through something truly awful.
It definitely doesn't offer easy answers or quick fixes. It's more of an invitation to grapple with those complexities of faith,
Yeah.
to acknowledge the mystery, and to trust in God even when it's incredibly hard.
Perhaps that's the whole point. Maybe it's not about having all the answers, but it's about the journey of seeking them, wrestling with these huge questions, and arriving at our own understanding of faith.
You've hit on something profound. The book of Job isn't a manual with instructions for dealing with suffering. It's a conversation starter.
Right.
It's a text that invites us to engage with these questions and to deepen our relationship with God through dialogue, even when it's painful.
So it's not about finding easy answers, but
Yeah.
about engaging in that struggle,
Right.
the questioning, and ultimately finding a deeper level of faith.
Precisely. And that process of wrestling with faith, it resonates across cultures and throughout history. It's a human experience that transcends time and place.
Which is why even after thousands of years, the book of Job still speaks to us so powerfully. It mirrors our own struggles, our questions about suffering and God's nature.
And within that, it offers hope. It reminds us that even in the face of unimaginable pain, faith can not only endure, but thrive.
Yeah.
But pasted text also pulls out some key lessons that we can apply to our own lives, even beyond the big theological questions.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Yeah.
What are some of those lessons?
It highlights certain virtues that can help us navigate those challenges of life,
Okay.
especially when facing suffering. The first one is patience.
Patience. Easier said than done, especially when you're in the middle of suffering.
Yeah.
How does Job's story teach us about that?
Think about Job's experience. Years of unimaginable pain and loss without any explanation.
Right.
And yet he never gave up on God. He remained steadfast in his faith, trusting that there was a purpose, even when it was hidden from him.
So it's about trusting God's timing, even when it doesn't match up with our own, wants or expectations.
Exactly, recognizing that God's plan often unfolds in ways we just can't comprehend.
Yeah.
Sometimes we simply need to wait and trust the process.
It makes sense. But pasted text doesn't just stop at patience or
Right. It also emphasizes humility.
humility. I can see how that connects to trusting God's plan.
Right.
But how else does it show up in the book of Job?
Think about how God responds to Job. It isn't a direct answer to his questions.
Right.
God points to the vastness and complexity of creation, reminding Job and us of our limited human perspective.
It's as if God is saying, Job, I know you're hurting and you have questions, but you're not in a position to judge my actions. You don't have the full picture.
Precisely. And that's a powerful lesson in humility. It's about recognizing our limited understanding and approaching life with awe and wonder,
Right.
acknowledging that there are forces at work beyond our comprehension.
So patience and humility, two potent virtues to help us navigate suffering. What's the third one that pasted text mentions?
The third virtue is perseverance.
Perseverance.
Yeah.
I can definitely see the link.
Yeah.
Job's story is all about enduring incredible hardship and never giving up hope.
Exactly. That's perseverance in a nutshell. Continuing to move forward even when facing obstacles and setbacks, holding on to hope when things seem bleak, and never losing sight of a brighter future.
And for Job, that perseverance ultimately leads to restoration, right?
Yes, but it's crucial to remember that restoration doesn't always look how we expect it to.
Right.
Job was blessed with material wealth and a new family. However, that's not always the experience for everyone who suffers.
So it's not necessarily about expecting a happy ending, but trusting that God will see us through whatever form our trials may take.
You got it. Believing that God will never abandon us even when we're suffering, and that He'll ultimately work all things for good.
Wow, this is deep stuff. Patience, humility, perseverance. Those are virtues that could benefit anyone, not just when facing suffering. It's amazing how the book of Job, written so long ago, still offers relevant guidance for navigating, life's complexities.
It's a testament to the power of those timeless truths. A reminder that even in the face of life's greatest challenges, there's always hope to be found. But we've covered a lot of ground here.
Oh, yeah.
And it's probably time to shift gears a bit.
You're right. Let's transition to something a little different. We've been talking about these, big virtues. But I'm curious, from your perspective, what's the most important takeaway from the book of Job? What's the one thing you'd want our listener to walk away with?
That's a challenging question, but if I had to pick just one thing, I think it would be the reminder that faith isn't about having all the answers. It's about trusting in God's wisdom and goodness, even when we just don't understand His plan.
It's like surrendering to the mystery, right? Yeah. Accepting that some things we may just never fully grasp.
Exactly, and that surrender can be incredibly liberating.
Yeah.
It frees us from the burden of trying to figure everything out and allows us to rest in the knowledge that we're held in God's love, even when life just feels chaotic and uncertain.
So it's about letting go of control and trusting in something bigger than ourselves.
That's it. And that trust doesn't mean that we won't experience pain or suffering.
Right.
Job's story certainly makes that clear.
Yeah, for sure.
But it means we can face those challenges with hope and purpose, knowing we're not alone in our struggles.
It's a powerful message. I think it resonates with people regardless of their religious beliefs.
Yeah.
We all face challenges, and it's comforting to know there might be a source of strength and support we can tap into, even when we just don't have the answers.
Absolutely. The book of Job reminds us that we don't have to face those challenges alone.
Right.
We have a God who walks with us through the darkest valleys and offers comfort and hope even in our pain.
That's beautifully said. You know, when we started this deep dive with pasted text, I wasn't sure what to expect.
Yeah.
But this conversation has given me, and hopefully our listener, a lot to think about. Maybe even a renewed sense of hope and purpose in facing life's challenges.
I hope so. And if I could leave our listener with one final thought, it would be this. If God were to ask you to consider the vastness of creation, like He did with Job, what aspect of the universe would draw you in the most? And how might that reflection change your perspective on suffering?
Wow, what a powerful question to end on. It reminds us that there's always more to explore, more to learn, both within ourselves and in the world around us. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Remember, you can always send us your requests through our daily bread.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.